What's going on, everybody? Today I want to have an honest conversation about full art trainer cards, particularly more recent modern cards. What I think about these cards, and I want to give you an alternative as well. If you like these cards, but you might be thinking about diversifying your collecting or thinking about some other kinds of cards to collect that are kind of related to these cards but aren't quite full art trainers. We're going to have that conversation today. And the reason is I've been seeing kind of a lot of conversation around modern versus vintage. And I think some of the full art trainers that are getting premiums, that are having kind of price spikes around a particular character or a particular waifu or what have you, are kind of opening up some potential risks for people who might be putting a lot into modern. Now, there's no financial advice around this conversation. It's really just kind of about collecting. And also you do kind of want to think about like what is going to go up over time and what is something that might really hold your interest or the interest of the larger collecting market over time as well. So I want to show you some of my full art trainers, why I got them. And then I want to again show you some alternatives to these kinds of cards and the sort of pluses and minuses of them. So number one, full art trainers are a really popular category of Pokemon cards, especially modern and recent ones. In maybe the last 5 years or so, you can get a lot of these like individual characters from different Pokemon games. Here's a 2017 Pokemon Sun and Moon Plumeria, for example, from Burning Shadows. And then we have Mars and Sabrina's Suggestion. So this is a cool one because it is a original gym trainer. And yeah, these are cool cards. They're definitely a category you can easily introduce yourself to and learn about, and there are a lot out there to kind of choose from. Now, I picked these up kind of on a whim. Like full arts have been kind of popular for a while, and I kind of jumped on that wagon. And I think I got like this one, for example, maybe from like a Probstein auction, and just kind of following different auctions here and there and picking up just what kind of caught my eye. I liked Diantha here because I believe this was a fairy type trainer, and you'll see that on the card here, and that Pokemon type was retired in the TCG. So I thought that was kind of cool, maybe made it a little bit like it might not be reprinted. And then there are some older ones too. So these are Professor Juniper cards from 2012 and 2013, the Japanese and English one respectively. And I'm going to talk a little bit about too, these are good alternatives if you are maybe want to stay on full art trainers but don't want to take as much risk with so many more coming out. You could get some older ones as well, although these are a little bit pricier as well. Now, the big risk with cards like these is that they have new full art trainers with every single new Pokemon set. And so these are easily going to be oversaturated in terms of choices. They're going to find other full art trainers that might become more popular with a newer generation of Pokemon or a new Pokemon game. And for that reason, they're going to have a little bit more competition with other full art trainers coming into play, coming onto the market. You also have to think that these are printed in pretty high supply. I mean, when you think about older sets that are out of print or vintage cards, you just don't have the same supply, especially when it comes to PSA 9, PSA 10 gem mint grades. The majority of these, I think, people aren't really going to be playing with them. You can take them straight out of a booster pack and get a pretty good grade on them. Whereas with a vintage card, they are going to be a little bit harder to get in the really high grades. Now, one alternative in the full art trainer space that I think can help provide some security is going for these popular characters. Like there is Sabrina's Suggestion. There's another one called Erica's Hospitality. Sabrina and Erica are some of the original gym trainers. And so because of that, because of their characters being more important in Pokemon canon, they, I think, will be able to hold up a little bit more easily. Whereas something like this Mars, I don't know if this is a particular gym leader from Pokemon Sun and Moon or if it's just kind of one of those random trainers. It's just not going to be able to no one's going to really remember that as well. Now, another thing you can do is think about getting some older full art trainers. So these Professor Junipers are a good example of that from 2012, 2013. Notice how the silver border is very different. The foiling is a little bit different, and yeah, they're just not going to be making these cards the same way again. I mean, maybe they could do like a 25th anniversary type deal again with some of these cards, but I mean, people are still going to want the originals. And you can also consider the fact that Plasma Freeze or some of the sets that these cards come from are much more expensive in terms of booster box price, and thus it's going to be really hard to get more of this supply out on the market. So for that reason, I'm not really a huge fan of full art trainers. I think it's a cool category if you really like it, but I think there are some things you can do to help provide some security. Go for well-known characters and also look for maybe older ones or ones from sets that are more up there in price. Now, there are great alternatives to full art trainers that I think are much safer bets and maybe have more potential in the long term, and that is vintage cards. I mean, you don't have full art cards for trainers, but you have these original trainer cards. Here I've got a Japanese Giovanni full holo and a Sabrina full holo. And these are just absolutely beautiful cards still. Even though they're not full art, I mean, the eye appeal is very, very nice. And I actually, as a vintage collector, prefer this older, more sort of retro feel, the classic look of the cards with the smaller box and all the text and all of that. I mean, that's kind of a personal taste, right? So maybe a wider market is not going to appreciate that as much during certain times. There can be different trends. I think there's more of a trend toward modern right now versus vintage. But you have to consider, you know, this is from 1998. This is from 2018, right? So this has been out for 20 years longer. There's going to be fewer of these in gem mint condition. There's going to be far more of these. They're going to be easier to grade. And, you know, it is flashier, this full art style, but we don't know what trend is coming next. Could this be outpaced by something that we can't even foresee yet? You know, signed cards or something even flashier. And is this going to get lost in that competition versus this is always going to remain classic? Some other alternatives too, I think, you know, you have other trainer cards that are not the original gym trainers and may not even be holo. Personally, this would be beautiful in a holo if they did like a anniversary rendition of this. But this is, you know, you have your last trainer from base set, and I have a shadowless one. I like to get these in shadowless and also the Japanese ones. You have your Professor Oak, right? Not a full art trainer, right? But the original professor from the original base set. I believe this card was like maybe, I don't know, $100, $200, something like that, versus some of these full arts are going for crazy amounts of hundreds of dollars, you know, $1,000 for a Lily or something like that, who's just super popular right now. And are they going to stand the test of time? Are they really worth 5x times, you know, some of these original trainers or human subjects from the older games, these older cards? Another good alternative are trainer sort of scenes. So some of the trainer cards, I think from Gym Challenge, Gym Heroes, like Erica's Kindness, Erica holding an umbrella over this Growlithe here. It's one of my favorite trainer cards, if not my most, you know, favorite trainer card of all time. And it's just a beautiful scene. I love the colors on it. And it's got Erica there, one of the original gym leaders, in a really cool scene. Here's another example, you know, Lieutenant Surge's Treaty. You don't see this too often. I think maybe another option for this would be those like modern character arts where you have the Pokemon with their trainers. But I think full art trainers, you know, they like the gym trainers. They like the leaders. They like some of the human characters from Pokemon. And so these, I think, could be good alternatives for that kind of person who wants to change it up from the modern full art trainer. Another reason these Gym Heroes, Gym Challenge original trainers are really fun to collect. So here's a Mint 9 Misty Holo. And then the non-holos have these alternate art, which are really cool. And I don't know, you know, I don't see a lot of really hype around that. Maybe that's just because they're easier to find, but they are still rare cards. They still have that star rating. And they're kind of neat that they have that alternate art. You know, I like the Erica one as well, where she's got that kind of like beach shirt on, that sort of tropical shirt, and they're just very different from the holo versions. Again, I think this would be really cool to see some of these alternative art ones that were non-holo in the gym set in some kind of special holo form in like a 30th anniversary or some kind of anniversary set. Again, with these Japanese lasses, look at that, 1996, right? And I think maybe I spent somewhere between $100 and $200. I mean, some of these might have been like 75. It really kind of varies and is very volatile. But, you know, over 20 years, And I know it's not full art or anything, but it's still a cool trainer card. It is still original. It is still got that star rating. And I just can't help but wonder about the price discrepancy between something like this and then those full art trainers that people are kind of going crazy for. Here are just some Japanese examples of those cards I just showed. We have the Erica here with that cool shirt there. That's an alternative art in the Japanese. And then, of course, my favorite trainer, Erica's Kindness here in the Japanese PSA 10. You can also get the original gym trainers in non-hollow form, and I don't think these are too shabby to pick up either. Another example are other cool trainers that are not necessarily, you know, a trainer with a name, but are some kind of cool trainer card that has trainers represented in a really cool way. Like Copycat is one of my favorites. This is the original one from Expedition. This card has been reprinted a lot. I like the original printing here. I love the art on it. They always typically have like someone dressing up as a Pokemon, kind of pretending to be a Pokemon trainer. There's even someone dressed up as a Pikachu back there, someone dressed up as a professor, Team Rocket, and then you can up the ante and go for the reverse hollow as well. Another good example is this Rocket's Sneak Attack. I'm sorry, the Rocket's Trap. The Rocket's Sneak Attack is also another good one. So I was picking up these for around $100 each, and I have 4 or 5 of these. I think I actually have 5 of these. And this is just another one, really, you know, if you like human characters, you like the trainers, you like the Rocket people, you like the leaders, there are a lot of cool trainer cards, even in hollow, that are rare, that might be underfollowed because they are not Pokemon, that you can pick up that you might enjoy if you like full art trainers. You could also look out for like Topps cards. So here's a Jessie. You know, I recommend if you do this, go for one of the foil ones to kind of help make it stand out even more. So you don't have to worry about it there being too much of a population, but these foil Topps cards seem to be pretty rare at any rate. Some other options if you like Team Rocket, of course, you've got Here Comes Team Rocket. I think this is just such a classic card. Now it does grade easily because it has very little hollow in the picture, but I mean, it's Here Comes Team Rocket, right? It's a classic slogan from the TV show. Really great depiction of Jesse and James and Meowth there. And I think that the population is fairly high. I want to say like over 300 or something like that for the PSA 10s of these, but honestly, is that really a lot? When you think about how many people are into Pokemon and how many people might be moving into vintage at some point in their lives. So I got PSA 10 here. You can get this one in Japanese as well. Japanese ones are great alternatives. The population is sometimes even lower than the English ones. And I think that there's really a lot more upside with the Japanese personally, because they're great cards. You know, they're even older, they're the originals, and they look great. Here's another example of just another great Rocket scene. Rocket's Admin. This was reprinted for some kind of anniversary. I want to say 25th anniversary, but this is the reverse hollow with the Team Rocket return stamp there. And just an example of another really great trainer card that might be a cool alternative to full art trainers if you like that kind of thing. And then this one also does have a Persian in it. It does have a Pokemon in there as well. So those might add a little bit versus something like the Rocket's Trap that just has Rocket in it. There are all kinds of other trainers with interesting human characters. You know, you got Mary, which is like the Bill equivalent for the Neo series. Here's some kind of promo for Bill here. Of course, you might just enjoy some Pokemon that are not just Pokemon cards, but also have their trainer, their gym leader right there on the card itself. There are some other ones that do this, like the Versus series and some other different sets. Guys, I want to know what you all think about full art trainers down in the comments below, and what you think about these alternatives that I have provided here to those kinds of cards. A lot of really great vintage options, in my opinion. I'm not trying to be down on full art trainers. I have some myself. I do like them. But I think that there is a lot of good opportunity to diversify collecting if you really like that category. I think some of these are really great options that you will enjoy. If you like full art trainers, then you're going to like a lot of these other regular trainers, trainers with leaders, trainers with other human characters, trainers with leaders in their Pokemon. And they are just a lot of options out there, especially in the vintage realm, to help diversify your collecting. So let me know what you all think about this discussion. Give me your opinion down in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one.